they've dropped. But hopefully we can get some traction back on the live so that we can make sure that people really hear about who you are, your stance, and your take on this presidential race. Like, so let's start off with this. What made you become interested in running for president of the United States? And I wanted people to understand that, of the United States.
Most definitely, you do have to say that, because
right, because it could be president of anything, right?
Most definitely, because I am the president of the South Fulton Human Services Coalition, so I do have to be specific when I talk to people about what other office I'm running for. But the 2020 and the 2022 election made me very concerned about the citizenry of this country and how we do not really understand the political process. So a lot of us have seen people who are millionaires and billionaires run for this seat. So now people have the notion in their mind that this is only for the wealthy, that only the wealthy can run for this seat, only the wealthy can take this seat. But we started with individuals who had absolutely nothing but the idea. And to run for president of the United States, all you have to do is be over 35 years old, be a resident of the United States, born here, and live 14 years in your state.
And that's good to know, because I was going to ask you that, like, help us that really do not understand it and don't know what that looks like in that space. So great information to know that those are the things that align with being able to run for the United States president's seat, you know?
Yeah.
And what made you, for your stance on all things and being in that conservative space, why that party? Let's talk about why that party.
Okay. Well, I am a member of the National American Independence Party, which is American Conservatives. I was brought up Catholic in a very conservative home. You don't always get what you want when you want it. We had to be very conservative about our living arrangements, and that means that you, as a child, had to get what children get, not everything that you wanted or saw. And so I was patterned and was brought up to understand that you have to make wise decisions about things that's happening to you personally, economically. And that's what's most important in our communities, that we understand that we are the ones in our communities who determine whether or not our community thrives. Because if our household is not thriving, our community cannot thrive.
Well, I do understand that. So do you think that in some sense, people think that's opposite? That if our communities aren't thriving, then our households don't? So, because really in essence, if we think about it in some sense, if we have economic downfalls, then the people that really needs the jobs, the monies, those things, it sets a tone for poverty, and then that's the trickle effect instead of vice versa. What's your thoughts?
My stance on that is this: we have to understand that the family is the stake of the community. Mom at home, she's the one who's seeing what's going on in the community. She knows everyone in the community. She's intervening with things that may happen, that may cause problems within the family, by attending the community meetings, because she has time to do that while dad is out there working, making sure that he got that income coming in, that the garden can be taken care of, and that the community thrives from that. It's the people that's in the community that makes the community work, not the economic temperature of that community, because the temperature can be anything, but what are we doing in our community? If a store closes down, why are we not educated enough to go and take that building, come together, make that building work again so that people can work in the community? Without business, people are not going to have jobs. And it goes all the way down to the line to our economic stability. We're the ones that create that, not our government.
Got you. So with that economic stability, let's talk about education, because I think at times education plays a part in how our community thrives and at what level. And so what's your stance on education in America, and how can we improve the education system with the US being ranked 13th globally?
Ooh, girl. Let me tell you this first. My platform is a 360-degree circle of concern around our children. And that's in education, industry, law enforcement, and community. And it starts at home. We have to remember that our children go from home to school, not from school to home. So we have to be very vigilant in making sure that our children are girded up and ready to learn when they go to school. Then they're not distracted with all the things that's going on between mommy and daddy, uncle and auntie, grandma, people dying, people being shot, that we guard our children's minds from those things. That's why when adults used to argue, the children had to leave the room. And it's because their minds are very, very precious and very impressionable. So we have to be very mindful what we do around our children. And we have to be involved in their education. If we're going to send them away from our home to be educated, we still have to be involved in that. Doesn't matter how many jobs you have. If you're going to send your children away, you need to know what's going into their minds and who's molding that mind.
Do you think our communities and the school system in our communities challenges our community kids to be their best selves as it relates to the education, the things that we teach in school? Do we challenge them enough to be able to sustain what they've learned and take those things and be able after graduation and be successful in the community, which also there again impacts our community as we embark on generational trends and the Gen X's, Z's, Y's, their time in our community being our next future.
Most definitely. Of course, you know that the children are our foundation. And in the last 20 years is what we really are concentrating on and thinking about, because these are becoming our next leaders. And it is unfortunate, but we have a faction in our country who do not believe that Americans should live the freedom and liberty that we do, and that they have infiltrated our schools. And I don't mean infiltrated as taken over our schools. I mean, they've gotten into position where they can influence the children by the things that they say and the things that they do. When you are a teacher, and I have to tell you that I've been a teacher for 40 years, I homeschooled all 6 of my children, and I had 2 of them into the school system, and the other have not been a part. Well, the other 3 haven't. 1 was halfway in a public school. And we have to be mindful. I think Malcolm X said it to best. And this is for cultural people, people who feel that they have issues with other races, that how do you expect someone who doesn't like you to raise and teach your children? So you have to be mindful of that. And if someone is teaching your child something, and they're coming home and tell you stuff that you would never, ever utter out of your lips to your parents, something is not right. That means that the tradition of raising in your family has left. So you need to find out what the root of that problem is. And we don't take the time because we only spend, what, an hour with our kids? And most of that time is really just getting them fed, getting them ready for bed. You don't have time for conversation. You know, so now someone else is bringing up your child and you're wondering what's going on with them. We are riddled with mental illnesses right now because your child is dealing with someone telling them, oh no, that's not the way it was. This is the way it was. And we had no idea until the pandemic came along and we were able to see what was going on in our children's classrooms. So once again, it starts with us.
So let's see. Sharissa says, what are your views on water funding as well as U.S. funding other countries when we have homeless problems? A lot of them are veterans.
Most definitely, the majority of our homeless is veterans, and I would love to salute our veterans for allowing us to even be here today, because without them we wouldn't be. My stance on war, and that's any war in my administration, if we're not going to end that war, then we're not partaking in or facilitating that war. If you're big and bad enough to go out there and fight against another country, then you have planned to handle that. Now, when you start moving over towards this way, then we have an issue with you. I do not see why we would fund and send money out of this country when we have the issues that we got going on in this country. There should not be not even one veteran that is without housing, transportation, clothing, food. They made it possible for you and I and others to get here, gather, and have this conversation. How dare we? How dare we walk past them, drive past them?
Right, great. I love it. So how can we do things better in that space? What does that look like for you as that candidate of a plan in order to be able to turn that around and make sure that our vets, our homeless, are being able to have some sense of funds or some sense of livelihood so that we can taper off that homelessness that Sharissa talked about?
Most definitely. I have been working with the housing industry for more than 25 years. And with the tiny houses becoming a program that can be funded to nonprofits, we really need to get our businesses up to par so that they can qualify for these funds so these veterans can get these homes. And these homes should be free to our veterans. They need to have transportation available to them so that they can take care of their needs. And it's here. All the tools that we need to do things that we need to do our veterans are here. We have land, we have housing, we have transportation that we can provide for them. And of course, clothing and food is never an issue in America.
Do you think that the U.S. should model after Canada and provide everyone free health care?
And provide everyone a what?
Health care.
Free health care. You know, one of the things that we have to realize about health care is that health care is for workers. People who provide jobs for people who work have to provide health care for them in case an accident happens on the job or if they get sick while they're working. That is what health care is all about. We have special programs, Medicaid, Medicare, for individuals who are not working, and those programs work perfectly for those individuals. If you start piling on responsibilities to business owners, they're no longer going to be business owners. They're going to be in that same line as the people they used to employ, unemployed, okay? So people have to understand what healthcare is and how it does matter to the businesses that are employing people, they have to be able to afford that, because if you have an incident or accident, your insurance will go up. That's why they have the days, 100 days, no accidents, incidents. They don't have that up there for show, just to help to keep the cost of the health care that they provide for their workers.
Sharisa asks, if elected today, would you support the ban on TikTok? If so, and why?
Well, I'm going to tell you yes. And the reason is why is that people have to understand that there is a reality behind the reality. What you and I see is what we have as a luxury and enjoy. What people are doing behind the curtains is utilizing it as a tool. If you can hear and see everything that I do, wouldn't that be easier for you as someone who wants to subjugate this country to do the things that you need to do? And they're using that as a spy tool against this country. And it has been identified, it's been documented. People even heard it, and they just shove it over their shoulder because they want to be entertained. Because that's what Americans love. We love to be entertained. We love to have fun, but we don't realize that there's people who do not want us to have liberty and freedom, and they will do everything they can to subjugate that.
So I want to make sure that we go back, and for those that are just joining, or even when we post, that we make sure people understand. I want you to tell us again, because I do believe, because I've always thought that, what does it take to qualify to run for president? And so I want you to talk about that so that people are aware of what that looks like.
Okay, and I will expound a little bit on it as well. You do have to be at least 35 years old, born in America. You cannot be someone who's not from this country and run for president. You have to be born here. In the state that you live in, you have to be a resident there for at least 14 years. You are required to become a business. My business is Angeline Payne for U.S. President with the state of Georgia. And you have to sign up with the FEC, that's the Federal Election Council, so that you are keeping all of your records, all your financial records and disclosures are with them. And we have to do at least 20 states with 20 people giving us $250 for us to qualify for what we call the heat map.
Okay.
And
talk about what is that?
The heat map is you have to have so you don't have to you don't have to pay money to qualify for a president. You have to get money from people in the community who want to back you. And so once you pass $100,000, then you get on that map.
And so I'm going to, I think it's safe to say, so if you don't raise that money, then you're no longer able to be on the ticket. Is that how that works?
You're not, maybe not on a ballot. But you can be a write-in.
Oh, okay.
And that's what people need to understand. They cannot stop you from running. That's what we call roadblocks. That over the decades of us having a two-party system has been instilled. People think that, oh, there was 8 Republicans running, only one won, and the rest of them, they lost. No, they can actually run as write-ins. They don't have to stop running. It is just their choice to stop running.
Gotcha. Let's talk about some of the things that you are pro-choice on. What are some of the pro-choice things what's your stance on pro-choice and some of the things that you are pro-choice on?
Okay, well, I'm pro Second Amendment. I am pro choice for life. I really think that we should really fight for the lives of our children. And I know there's a lot of delicacies that go along with that, but that has to do a lot with learning, really how precious life is, how precious it is for us as women to be able to bring forth life and nurture that life. So there's a lot that we were told that was not true, that made us make decisions that were not good for us or our communities. And now we have an opportunity to right some of those things by making sure we educate those who are coming behind us. I'm pro-choice for guns because in America, we are the boss in America. Our administrative office, local, state, and federal are our administrative offices. If someone comes for us, they get past our security and our borders, we are at risk. So we have the choice to protect ourselves by being the militias of our states, and you need weapons to do that. Guns are not the only thing that is considered a weapon. A fork, a knife, your hands, those things are considered as weapons as well. So people need to know that it's not just a gun that could get you locked up. A knife, a bone from a chicken leg can also get you locked up because that is a weapon. But we are the militias in our states, and our sheriff is our commander.
So for most people, when we think about it, and I know you simplified it a little when we talk about what's to be considered a weapon, when we talk about guns and the right to bear arms, what is your stance on gun control? How do we get a grasp on gun control, getting into the wrong hands? Because I know you talked about mental illness a little, and we'll pivot to that in a second. But knowing that there are so often times that guns get into the wrong hands of people that are stable and some that are not. How do we get control over those type of things?
Okay, the first thing that we're going to realize is no one person can control people, places, or things. And guns do not kill people, people kill people. And as we going to pivot in a minute, we have to understand that with some of the chaos that has been bestowed upon this country, a lot of people do not know how to handle their behavior. They're more reactionary rather than pausing, thinking, and then finding out whether or not they should or shouldn't react. So we have not been taught properly how to handle our emotions. And with that, we're getting into a lot of incidents where people do not know how to handle their emotions. So now they're just reacting with no thought about what's going to happen to me after this event happens. So we have to get a handle on our personal behavior because we are 100% responsible for our behavior. When you go to jail, you 100% go by yourself.
Yeah. Mental illness, how do we address that in America?
First, we need to make sure that as families, that we are addressing the issues that are going on in our homes. We need to be able to provide care for our family members at our homes. There is not enough facilities. There is not enough therapists to be able to deal with the amount of mental illness that we got going on in this country today. We do have programs where doctors are now coming to your home and doing work over the telephone for us to be able to care for ourselves. So every household should have a room where one of your family members become alcoholic, they start using drugs. This room can facilitate doctors coming to see them being able to stay in that room for at least 6 months until they can get themselves back into control off of that dependency, let that drug get out of their system, start giving them some new habits that they can get into, because it takes 28 days to get a new habit and to get it to form and start working for you. These places that they go to now just keeps turning people out, and they come out worse than what they are now. We're looking at a loved ones bill, creating a bill where they can provide the funding that the $2 and $3 million that they're making videos for, to give the families to take care of their family members at home with the staff that they need, the therapy and all, for those family members, so that they can be around their loved ones, because that's another problem, isolation, and them wanting to see their families all mad and upset with them, and the family can get therapy at the same time. So we need to change the way that we are facilitating mental illness.
Your take on the border.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Girl, you know I'm mad about that. Are you serious? A lot of people, and this is what I want people to understand, and I know it sounds scary, but right now, America is under siege. I'm telling you, the people who are coming through our border are not Mexicans. These are people from all over the world, young men between the ages of 18 and 35. And in our country and in our military, that is fighting age. So why are you sending? They're not coming on their own. I'm just going to tell you, okay, after a day of you just working out, just having a good day, just sweating it all out, you ready to change some clothes, ain't you? So you gonna tell me that somebody just walked across some water, came up on your border with fresh clothes, a book bag, goodies in the book? Come on now. There is something going on in this country. We have seen it. We have worked it out to understand that these are Chinese nationals who are in our country, and they're not coming over here for vacation.
How do we control that? Like, what is your plan to be able to ensure that the borders are protected and so how do we control it?
Okay, first of all, we don't build a wall at the border. We build buildings at the border that process people. If you want to come in this country, come through this country like everyone else comes here, legally. Go through the building, get processed. We'll have places where they can sleep while they're waiting for their work to be processed. If you got that much land to put a wall on, you have enough land to put a building from one end of the border to the other end of the border, where we have our legal gate at, to process these individuals and stop letting them out all over our land, places that they're never even going to become familiar with, because our weather is totally different from what's down south of us. So we really need to have a better process for people, because people do want to come to this country. I tell people all the time, people swim here. They die to get here. You have not seen an American jumping off this here land trying to go to another country.
Got you. Understood. So Sharisa says majority of the viewers here are Black and brown people. Tell us why we should vote for you. What is your campaign strategy? Great question.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharisa.
Well, the first reason that you should vote for me is because I am an American, and I qualify as an American to run for the President of the United States. I'm not running solely as an African American woman. I don't want you to vote for me because I'm an African American woman. I want you to vote for me because I'm an American, because I know the Constitution. I know the Bill of Rights. I know the Bill of Responsibilities. I know that this is a great country. I know that this is the only country where you're going to have liberty and freedom. And if we are to get down on our knees, no one in the world will ever be free again. We are the only beacon of freedom and liberty. And my way, my pathway to victory is 3 by 1. One person talking to 3 people, being accountable to them, making sure that they're being responsible enough to get to that voting booth and make sure that they vote for change so that we're not every 2 and 4 years, as Cesar Gonzalez would say, being left in squalor for them to come back another 2 and 4 years. And we keep repeating the same old thing, thinking that something different is going to happen. We have to be the change agents. We have to be the ones that say, wait a minute, do I want the big package of the special things that African Americans get? Or do I want the big package, the American package, where everything, opportunity lies, all the resources lies? You don't have to be a special person in America to get what America has to offer.
Wow, thank you for that. Environmental re-engineering. I see. Let's talk about it. What's your
Most
take, your
definitely.
stance? How do we understand what that truly means? Because when we hear environmental re-engineering, it seems like high-level words to some people. Break
Mhm.
it down for us simplistically.
Trash. Okay, we have to take our trash that we have buried, the trash that we are making, the trash that we just throw and think that somebody else is going to pick it up, not realizing it gets into our rivers, our streams, and then into our oceans, and then into our food. And we have to be more responsible in understanding that there is ways for us even at our homes. I live off the grid, so I know how to sort of make sure that I am conserving all the things that I use, my electricity, my water, my trash. We have a stone fireplace, and you can actually take waste and make fireballs, and your house just look lovely at night with your little fireballs burning in your little firestone that you use from stuff around your house. We have to learn how to reuse the stuff that is around us. Trash can be turned into gasoline, it can be turned into plastic, but we have to know these things so that we can seek out these things. Very good business. Our company, Black Wall Street Institute, along with the organization that I work with, South Fulton Human Services Coalition, which I am the president of, is working to get land, one to help build put some of the tiny homes on for our veterans, and the other is so that we can open up a facility, a biofuel facility, so that we can burn our trash and reuse our trash.
Wonderful. Thank you for educating us on environmental re-engineering. We're going to go a little past 8 only because of the technical difficulties we had getting on, and I want to be fair and give you the opportunity to really speak to what you need to speak to, but also give you that time that you deserve as well. KCO Education Wellness.
Mhm.
Tell us about
What-
that and what it means to you and what it means to us, and how it will either impact us in a positive or a negative way.
Most definitely. What we have to understand is when we send our children off to school, once again, they have to be prepared. We have to make sure that they understand how important it is for them to be able to rely on the stewards that are around them. That is their teachers, the police officers, the people in the community, they have to be able to have enough confidence in those individuals around them for them to be able to say something. If their friend has said something to them, like they're depressed or they don't like such and such, and look, I got a gun, or look, I have a knife, they have to have enough confidence in themselves that they're not being a tattletale, but they are being concerned for that individual and for themselves enough to go and tell an adult, someone they can rely on, to handle that situation and not try to handle that situation themselves. They need to know what to do when someone comes into their school, how to react, how to behave. We have a program called Be a Star, which teaches children how to behave when someone actively is coming in to shoot, stab, slash anyone, to hide, not to be going out there trying to scream and yell. Be quiet, hide, wait until the situation is over. If there's a door, block the door and hide. If you see an exit and you can get to that exit before that individual or the situation comes to you, get out. Do not stand around. Try not to freeze, but that takes practice. Just like we were talking about with the Second Amendment. If you're going to be a person who has a gun, you best know how to use that gun. Don't wait for that day, that incident. Get trained. Learn how to handle it. Learn how to deal with situations that may get you into a bad situation. So we have to make sure that our children are being trained and prepared, and that helps them with their wellness, because once again, they have to realize that they are 100% responsible for their behavior, and reactions is a part of your behavior.
So we have another question. All of our taxes are going up from mortgages to utilities. Our paychecks are still the same. What would be your plan to Congress to help taxpayers? And that's a great one, because yeah, as we continue to increase utilities, especially electric, and understanding that in a sense there's so many forms of ways in which we generate electricity, but more important, but mostly through gas. And so with that, and the generation of plants, building plants enough for us to generate that, making sure that the grids are definitely strong enough so we don't have blackouts. Those things to ensure that we are doing our part. Sometimes it does require for the rates to go up or things like that. But at some point, as you mentioned, as those things happen, our paychecks aren't increasing with the economic way of living. So talk about your plan and what can we do in that space.
Well, right now, the only reason why we are in inflation is because of overspending. Our Congress only has 18 items that they can actually spend money on, and they have overreached that point. In our Constitution, we have the 5th article, which we could utilize, which the Convention of States is circulating around the country. Right now, we have to have 34 states, and we're at 19 going on 20 to get enough people to understand that we as citizens who are the boss of this country have the right to tell our Congress that they need to control their spending. They do not have the right to take our money from us and just give it away. That is why we're in a hyperinflationary economy right now. All the money that's been sent out of this state, spent on frivolous things. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any infrastructure done, but I haven't. okay? And thousands, trillions of dollars have gone into these bills that has nothing to do with infrastructure. So it's not what we're doing in the economy that's making it go up, is what our administration is doing that's making that go up. One, the very first thing would be getting them out of that office, because it is administration and the way that they're handling our money that is causing these inflationary issues to go up. And each state, if you start talking about, oh, we need to increase the minimum wage so that people can spend more, the more you increase that, the higher the inflation is going to go up. So you didn't get a raise anyway. Mm-hmm. And now you've put a burden on the job that has to keep that job for you, and now they can't afford to keep you. Layoffs. So wouldn't you rather have that little bit of money instead of no money at all? So be very mindful of what you ask for when you're talking about these things. If you don't understand you getting an increase on your job that your boss can't afford means that you won't have a job, then you might not want to ask for that. And you need to understand the place where you work at. You can't just go to your job because you got to be there. You need to be a part of your job. If you're going to go in as a janitor, one day you may own your own business if you follow what's happening on your job and be a part of that job and stop thinking of it as just a job. This is your life journey. So you want to be a part of every part of it, because it means a lot to those who are coming behind you.
So I have two other questions that I want to ask, unless, if somebody put anything in the chat before we get ready to close out. With what you just talked about, and to Sharice's question, we know that there are people that do not have jobs, and we need to be able to find ways to ensure that those people do have some sort of supplemental, some kind of income in order to be able to survive. So we talk about, in that space, food stamps, welfare. What does that look like for you? Do you think that should be in existence? Do you think it shouldn't? And if so, let's talk about your stance on it. How does that look for you as you're in office as it relates to food stamps and welfare?
Well,
the reason, let me ask you this, and the reason I asked that and aligned with her question is because sometimes it appears, and it may not be, it appears that some of those people live a little bit better than people that do work every day.
Okay, and this is why we have to understand how government works. We have to understand that our Constitution starts with we the people. So we the people here in this country assist and help each other. We have classes in this country, and it starts with our homeless, goes to our assistant, goes to our middle class, our rich, and our ultra rich, and then we have our government and our churches on the side of that is facilitated by our ultra rich. So each class helps each class. The assistant individuals who live off of food stamps, who are either on disability or became a new mom or dad and have to take care of their kids, it's okay for them to live a comfortable life because they're raising children. And you want them to be in the best possible situation to help raise that child, because you have to be with a child for at least the first 5 years of their life to make sure that they're getting that solid foundation for them to go out into society, especially if you're going to put them in a public or private school situation. You want to make sure that they're grounded. So you want to make sure that you're providing food and shelter and clothing for the person who's caring for those children so that they have that best opportunity. It's no reflection on people who work. I mean, those individuals, that's where that money is coming from, for those individuals to be able to facilitate having food stamps and having shelter provided for them. And the people who are rich are providing the jobs for those workers to be able to go to, so that they do have a job and can work and be able to facilitate having a household. And our ultra rich, they're there to make sure that things like wars and stuff like that, that we have the money to buy those equipments, because our government does not use our monies to do that. We don't have enough money to buy all those tanks and airplanes that we need for that. So someone facilitates that. So we have to be aware of that. And it is a pyramid that we utilizes, and people don't understand that we, the people, are at the top. At the bottom of that pyramid is your federal, state, and local offices. We reside at the bottom of that pyramid because we are the administrators of what people need, want, and desire in their communities. And we have to understand that dynamic. So we need programs. These are stepping stone programs. These are not permanent programs. These are not programs for you to live your life journey on. They are for you to get yourself into a position where you can care for your family, and as your family grows, you're educating yourself. So when you get out and we talk about those people who don't have jobs, you can create a business for those individuals to come to. And a lot of people don't understand that for immigrants to come here, a lot of them have to pay to come here. And if they're not making 10 jobs before they get over here, they can't come to this country.
Thank you. Last question. We talked about education and it starting at home and economics, the economy and things of that magnitude. How impactful do you think it would be with the approval? Because I do understand that at one point, and correct me if I'm mistaken, writing off student loans was approved, but then I think it went back to court. Like it was denied, if I'm not mistaken. So let's talk about, do you think that's a good idea and a plan to even do that, considering that we are having some economic issues where people just aren't able to even pay those loans back? Or will it have a great impact on our economic society as it relates to writing those loans off, or forgiveness? So in their words.
Correct. One of the things we have to understand, and I'll give you a scenario. I just went to school, and Amanda, could you please pay my loan off for me because I'm not able to pay it? You start feeling some kind of way, don't you? Okay. So what we have to understand is that there is programs already in place that will forgive your student loan. You can work for a nonprofit and your loan will be forgiven. You can show through you sending in paperwork to the school or the organization that has your loan that you're not making enough money, and in 10 years, they will forgive that loan. They're not telling you that because they're using it as a political ploy to make it seem as though they're capable of forgiving your loan. By law, they are not. That's why the Supreme Court told them no. There is no law that says that you, the taxpayer, have to pay off someone's loan that they chose to take out because someone sat down with you, told you exactly what all this was, what it was going to cost, how long it's going to take it pay it back, and you signed on the dotted line. Without your signature, they could not have got that money for you to go to school with. Be mindful, someone has to come there and teach you. You have to have materials. So those things do cost money. And yes, schools get enough money to pay off every child's loan, but that's not what those dollars is for. We have programs already in place that do that. and you just need to take the time to find out what they are. And even some of the jobs that you work for will pay for your education. So no need for that. It's just a political ploy that they use, one of those carrots on a stick that come and hit you with after you've eaten the carrot, and just to keep you what they perceive to be under control.
Well, this has been a great discussion, but I want to be sure that we make sure that people know, as Sharisa mentioned, why again, and I want to just do this as a recap. Why again should we vote for you, people? And I know you stated not just because you're African American woman, not because Black brown, but I want people to understand why you feel like we should vote for you. What's your strategy and any closing remarks?
That I have. I'm very thankful for this session, and I love teaching. Like I said, I've been a teacher for 40 years, and I love to see people when they grow. I always tell people I don't have work days, I have result days. So at the end of the day, if I have not moved the needle for my country, then there's no need for me to run, because every day brings us the ability to move forward to next day. So if we're still just standing still like we are now, going back further and further, then I'm not the right person for you. I am an executive secretary by trade, and I am a logistical tactician. I understand how things work from the intro to the video to the outro. So I know exactly how to work with people. I know how to listen to the constituents about their concerns. That was the main reason why I even got on this platform. The people, you could hear the groaning, the moaning, and the cries of the people, and they just simply did not know what to do. They all wanted a third party, somebody else to choose from, because the Republicans and the Democrats are imploding. They've already imploded to the fact that they're out on the street fighting with each other. They're not even working with their own members, and that's on both sides, especially with our youth. They are looking for some continuity, to someone who says, okay, let's bring the youth in, let's train them, let's mentor them. We have a youth council that we're working with so that we can get these young people to understand that I don't care whether you think that you're in politics or not, it's in you. Okay, so you need to understand that. You need to take the bull by the horns and learn how to work with that animal, because it will be with you until you pass. Because the thing that it affects, and the only thing that you need to be concerned about, is your wallet. And I teach personal financial literacy, so I understand economics, how it not only affects the communities, but how it affects us globally. And it's very important that the person that you put in that top administrative seat understands how money works, how it affects our cities, our states, and our country and the world, because we are a big dynamic part of that, and we are in a position to make sure that this country continues as long as we have someone who cares about the people, what their needs, wants, and desires are, and I am that person.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful discussion today. And I want to just thank you so much for allowing us, 105.7 The Face and Many Miller Talks, Talk About Queens, the ability to ensure that you're heard, and educating and teaching us in this space of what some of the educational things that we can learn, but more importantly, understanding how people are eligible or able to run for the presidency seat of the United States of America. I want to thank you for taking your time on your Mother's Day to definitely have this discussion with us.
Yeah.
And thank you so, 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 so much for being a beacon for Brett, for like Sharisa mentioned about Black and Brown, but more importantly, a woman that is taking this journey and being able to take that stance and be okay with running for that top seat. And we appreciate your day and your time. I am, guys, I will be posting this. So if you didn't have, we know everybody, a lot of people are spending time with their moms. And we know we had some technical difficulties earlier. We had quite a few people on earlier. But again, those that that had to drop and did not have the opportunity to sit in on this segment, I will be posting it on all platforms. Amanda Miller Talks 2, Talk That Queens. My YouTube is Amanda Miller Talks. My TikTok is Amanda Miller. And so I'll make sure we get that posted on all of those platforms in order for people to hear your journey, your story as you run for the Angeline Payne 2024 for presidency of the United States.
Yes, indeed. And let me also say, for you to reach out to me and vet me, you can go to my website, madampresidentpayne.com. And if you
Repeat
want
that
to
again
join,
for me. And thank you for stating that. Can you repeat it again for us so that we can close out with it?
to visit me and vet me, you can go to madampresidentpayne.com. And if you want to join our party, is AMI party, PARTY.org. Let's make some changes and be a change agent.
Well, thank you. Have an amazing week. We will be watching as November nears, and so we will be following your journey along the way. Good luck to you.
Appreciate you.
You've been very
Everybody enjoy
welcome. Have an
this mother.
amazing week, guys.
Oh, you
Thank you.
well.
I'm Amanda Miller. I always say there's a lot of amazing people out there. If you want one, become one. Angeline, again, thank you. Have an amazing week.
You too. Thank
Thank
you so much.
you. You're welcome.